Picking a niche. That's what we're going to focus on this week. That's what I meant by going deeper. And some of you may be going, wait, we did that last week. I'll get to that thought in just a moment. Picking a niche does not mean you have to fire all your other clients. This is the first thing that I think picking a niche, or when I talk about picking a niche, that people think of, and it scares you to death. Picking a niche is about planning for the future. It doesn't mean you sabotage the present, which would be the equivalent of firing all your clients. Now, it does mean you begin to think almost immediately about the clients you should keep and the ones you should let go. And yes, there are always clients you should let go, you should fire. But you need to think about when is the right time for you to do that. Also, picking a niche does not mean you cannot change your mind later. I saw this reluctance last week during some of the group sessions. I could just see this sense that, oh, if I pick next week, what if I realize it's wrong? Well, then change. Change. You can change your mind. But picking a niche is a skill you can learn, like pricing. I'm fanatical about pricing because I believe it's the most important business skill that we never teach. And so I'm on a mission to help every professional I can make contact with learn how to price, because I believe it's a skill you can learn. And I realize positioning is the exact same way. You can learn how to do it. And it feels very counterintuitive. Guess what else feels very counterintuitive? Pricing. So if you buy into the idea of pricing that people like myself and Hector and Ron and others teach, buy into positioning, because if it feels counterintuitive, that discomfort should actually give you comfort. Okay? That's what we're looking for. We're looking for something that lights you up, because if it lights you up, then it has the potential to light up your prospective or potential customers. This, I think, is key when it comes to picking a niche or positioning. Different is better than being better. In other words, if you have a choice between being different and getting a grade of a B on something versus just getting a grade of A, I'll take different and a grade of B, because different and a grade of B is going to be more successful than vanilla and grade A. Probably should say different is superior to being better, because that way we don't trip over the word. Again, from Tim's book, instead of being afraid of focus, you should be afraid of mediocrity. You don't want a positioning statement that reads something along the lines of, we want to help our customers keep accurate books using technology to replace manual processes, or something to that effect. Everybody wants to replace manual processes with automation. Everybody wants accurate books. Everybody wants a quality bookkeeper or accountant. We've got to go deeper. Here's another one. Chris Farman. He's a CPA in Florida who I've worked with. We help craft breweries grow profits. Talk about somebody who's niched down. Chris has even changed the name of his business. And I didn't notice this till I went and looked at his LinkedIn this morning, but now his website, Brewery Profits. Talk about picking a niche and living it. His domain is his niche. He attends craft brewery conventions. He writes for craft brewery websites. He is known as the accountant to craft breweries. And I happen to be a connoisseur of beer, so I admire his business model. Here's another one. Ben Dangle is somebody who is in my network on LinkedIn. I help cosmetic dentists save at least $50,000 per year. And then he says how? By finding cash flow shortfalls. But notice he even specifies what type of dentist. He says cosmetic dentist, and he specifies a specific benefit. at least $50,000 per year. I help cosmetic dentists save $50,000 per year, period.
So we talked about this already. This is not new information. You're defining your vertical, your horizontal, and the desired future state, which is most of the times a journey from current state to future state, right? So it's very important that we don't help all customers with all problems. We help a customer with this current problem because through our specialized process, which is our horizontal, we're going to take you to this desired future state. So as you think about that, it will help you. And part of the exercise that Kirk asked you to do is to help you figure out what is it that you're good at, so you can get there quicker. So to do a couple of formula ideas, we've already talked about this, but the standard one is I'm the X for Y that want Z. So I'm an accountant for lawyers that want more profitability, right? I am, an accountant for breweries that want more profitability. Some of the examples I said, but there's variations of this formula, and you can use a couple of these. So for X, that would be your role, and you don't have to call yourself an accountant, but you can. You don't have to call yourself a bookkeeper, but you can. You can figure out what you want to call yourself. The Y is always going to be your ideal customer, which is what people call themselves, and then you want to sprinkle the ideal future state in there, and then also possibly the horizontal or niche or the current state. So you can play with these formulas as you go. So I'll give you a couple of examples. This is not necessarily a deliverable. I just want you to think about that there's more than one way to present this. So I'll give you some direct feedback in all of your positioning statements based on this. So one of the ways you can think about, I help current state customers, right? Customers with the current state get to Z. You could do something like helping struggling construction companies get their bids approved by getting their accounting processes in order. See, that's what Kirk says about boring. This is not boring because this takes people through a journey. So this kind of takes people from the beginning to the end. It makes it very defined. People understand what you do and also attracts that target customer. Some other variation of it, which is adding the horizontal to your name as a way to specialize yourself. So for example, I am a cash flow accountant. And by saying that, you're automatically saying that your specialty is cash flow. You actually don't have to explain your horizontal by using it as part of your title. So I'm a cash flow accountant helping lawyers, which is your vertical, reinvest their profits into cash producing assets. That is the Z, right? The desired future state. I help physicians of growing medical practices. I love this. Reduce stress by providing a proactive approach to tax planning. I would almost say that I wouldn't change anything in this one. I like this one. All right. So on the physicians and tax planning, well, one of it I think is perfect. I think it is perfect, but I would try to figure out how to add a differentiation or some of the method or horizontal. So maybe providing instead of a proactive, I have trouble critiquing this one because this one is so good. So whoever wrote this, I think you did a great job here. I think I do. I really do think. The only thing I would say is, are you talking to physicians when they hire you, or are you talking to the office managers? And if you are talking to the physicians, I get it. If you're talking to the office managers, then this becomes a bit confusing. If you're going to help physicians, maybe you don't need growing medical practices. Or maybe you can find a link between growing medical practices and tax planning, right? So helping physicians that had issues, paying taxes in the past on time, and our approach somehow gets you to pay on time, and there's no surprises. So I'm not telling you how to change your sentence or use any of these words. I'm just thinking through my thought process here. So maybe proactive approach to tax planning could be, you could change it to always be one step ahead of the IRS, helping physicians of growing medical practice, reduce stress by being one step ahead of the IRS, something like that. I'm assuming you want to make the IRS sort of the enemy of this whole thing.